An anatomy of a PLC program. This is the second project that I've done. The first one was a couple years ago, and this is the first, I think, of a new series. I'm actually looking for projects to help people with that need help in their occupation, in their job, or work with them to help them develop their programs. A quick note, we have 10 volumes, well, we have 9 volumes of manuals, over 2,500 pages of hands-on lab projects in really 4 categories. We'll call it RS Logix 500 Micro Starter, Compact Control Logix or RS Logix Studio 5000, and then in Connected Components Workbench with the Micro 800, and we also have a newer manual doing a project to create a machine-level HMI with Ignition SCADA software. In addition to these 9 volumes, there's one on there twice, PLC Fundamentals, orange and black. One comes with a little memory stick that has some free software on it, the other doesn't. We also have some hardware offerings that are really kits. They're digital analog field device simulators. You can buy them pre-built, which I recommend that you don't buy the kit, or you can design your own. And we also do hands-on training at the customer's site. We're plcprofessor.com is our website, and PLC Professor YouTube channel. Those 2,500 plus pages of hands-on lab projects all have videos. Most of them have videos supporting them on the YouTube channel. So I'm looking for projects to do. I should be at the Automate 2026 in Chicago. I don't have a booth. I'm just going to be wandering around, shooting the breeze. I am looking for people to work with that need help at their work, creating their projects and doing their programming. I don't do it for free, but I discount it in light of who I'm doing it for. If you can track me down or send me an email of a project that you have that you want to do, and like I said, I'm not doing it free, but it is a discounted rate. And I'm really only interested in projects that are funded, not just ideas that you have, but actual projects that your company will fund you buying the parts and the software. Okay, where to start with this project that we're going to do? Well, first you have to visualize the process. We have a feed conveyor, we have a workspace, and we have a sort conveyor. We're going to feed in product on the feed conveyor, move it into the workspace, and this workspace, let's just say it's a test station or a poka-yoke or a quality control station. And when the parts leave the workspace, they're going to go on the sort conveyor, and they're going to go one way or the other, valid or invalid. We begin with 3 photo eyes, and photo eye 1 is where the product to be quality controlled first appears on the feed conveyor, travels down past photo eye 2 to photo eye 3. Photo eye 3 is the pick location. Photo eye 2 is to allow you to stage another component or product, but it doesn't actually bump into the one sitting under PE3 or the pick position. And we will probably have the feed conveyor stop running if all 3 photo eyes are blocked until photo eye 3 is cleared over to the workspace, and then the other 2 can move ahead. We have a gantry and we have a vertical axis. So 2 axes pick and place. The gantry is horizontal, the pick and place is vertical, and the pick and place moves back and forth between the position on the feed conveyor for PE3 and the workspace. Once a product appears at PA3 and settles, then the vertical axis will extend down, capture, retract up, and then extend. It'll extend over to the workspace, extend down, release, and retract back up. It does a pick and a place, and then it will retract back to pick up another part to test or to poka-yoke. In the meantime, we have another gantry and a pick and place. And these 2 gantry and pick and place are 100% identical. They don't have to be. It depends on the spacing of your conveyors and workspace. but they both work the same. Once there is a product or component that's been tested or determined good or bad in the workspace, and then gantry 2 is going to move over a pick and place, and it's going to extend down, capture, and retract up. And once it has the captured part retracted up, then it's going to retract the gantry, and then it's going to extend down, release, and retract up, and you're back at the starting position. That's the entire sequence right there. The next thing we want to talk about is inputs and outputs. Okay, so you visualize the process. It's really extremely simple because you have two identical mechanical systems of pick and place. The sequence for the two is going to be a little bit different. Let's look at the I/O, the inputs and outputs. That's always where you start with a PLC program. Once you've visualized it and identified your I/O. Back to our image, let's add some I/O devices. Now we started with 3 photo eyes on the feed conveyor, and we are adding a 4th photo eye to detect the presence of a component in the workstation, in the POCIO space or the quality control space. We have 4 photo eyes, and remember we have 2 gantry systems, and each gantry system has 4 sensors. Extend and retract positions for the gantry itself and for the pick and place. There's 8 proximity switches right there. 4 photo eyes, 8 proximity switches. And then we also have to let the system know if the component passed or failed, because that determines what happens to it once it gets picked out of the workspace and placed over on the sort conveyor to go in either direction, pass or fail. And then, of course, we have outputs. And those, for the most part, are solenoid. We have these 5 outputs for gantry 1, and we have these 5 outputs for gantry 2. We have to have outputs that tell it to retract, extend, and I put capture. I didn't put solenoid because it could be a motorized gripper. It doesn't have to be pneumatic, but it's most likely going to be a pneumatic gripper of some sort or a suction cup. And then, of course, we have 2 motors. The feed conveyor goes in one direction. The sort conveyor goes forward or reverse. Never mind the circuitry for forward and reverse. It could be a VFD that has forward reverse. It could be a relay or contactor that accomplishes that. We have identified all the sensors and the outputs. And now what we want to do is go into the PLC program, into the project, and convert what we know about the sensors into tag names that accurately describe those inputs and outputs. These are these inputs and the outputs. We're going to start with the 4 photo eyes, PE1, 2, 3, and 4. And 3 of them are on the feed conveyor, and 1 is in the workspace. On the feed conveyor, entrance, buffer, and pick. Now, if the technician looks and sees feed conveyor buffer and doesn't realize what buffering is for parts on a conveyor, they will recognize entrance and pick, and then just assume that that's the middle position. Then, of course, you got the workspace. But you want these tag names to not just be descriptive, but also have good grammar and tense. In this case, these 4 photo eyes describe a location. And then we have 5 sensors for gantry 1, including the pick and place 1 and the pick and place presence. The pick and place presence leaves a little to be desired, and you may want to edit that to imply that the vacuum has been made on a suction cup, or that the grip sensor has sensed that the gripper has closed on the part or the package. We put G1 into the tag names, so you know it's gantry 1, pick and place 1, and 2 tag names. Those 4 tag names are adequate in the sense that they say they're proxies. The 5th one, because we don't know what kind of sensor that is, it's just pick and place 1 presence. And then we duplicate that for the 2nd gantry, and we have the identical tag names, with the exception being G2 instead of G1, pick and place 2 instead of pick and place 1, and pick and place 2 presence instead of pick and place 1 presence. And then, of course, we got valid and invalid, the pass-fail signals. Now, valid and invalid, those tag names could easily be changed to pass-fail or reject, progress, whatever fits the process. And then for outputs, to match the 5 sensors, the 4 proxies and the capture over there to the left for gantry 1, we have retract and extend gantry 1, retract and extend pick and place 1, and capture pick and place 1. Notice that these are commands. The inputs over there represented positions, retracted, extended. And notice the extended, because the word extend ends with a D, I added a second D, so it's extended. If you're clever with your tag names, you can make them fairly descriptive. Also, the use of underscores is good, and upper and lower case. And in a situation where it's going to become confusing, you need to either put in an underscore or have the tag name go from lowercase to uppercase to give a delimiter. Okay, gantry 2, pick and place 2, also has 5 solenoids or 5 outputs. And then, of course, the feed conveyor has a forward, the sort conveyor has a forward and a reverse. Now, we go into our PLC program. Now, this is for CCW Micro 800, but it's going to look the same for RS Logic Studio 5000 or Micrologics. In Micrologics and Slick 500, it would be a symbol, not a tag. Let's just ignore the Micrologics and Slick 500 and stick to Control Compact Logics and Micro 800. Now, if you're using a different brand of PLC, it's up to you to facilitate this same thing with whatever features they give you. You see that I have taken the text, for instance, retract G1 solenoid, that output. You look over the retract G1 solenoid. The tag names were more or less created here alongside of the inputs and the outputs. And when you make your input and output list and write your tag names, if you have them right next to each other, it's easy to make them more descriptive. Also, you want to make sure that you are consistent in assigning your tag names. Once we have our tag names, the next thing is going to be operator control. When I say operator control, I'm talking about what the operator is able to access from the HMI. Whether it's an operator interface terminal that has lights and switches on it of the old days, or an HMI with a touch screen or membrane keypad, operator control is the operator's control over the system in the sense that they can select auto mode, manual mode, single step mode. They can start the cycle, stop the cycle, and do other things from the screen. That's where we're going to pick this up in the next video. We like to keep these under 15 minutes. We're going to stop here, and in the next video, we're going to continue with operator control. Thank you for watching.